And again, Obama advisor Dan Pfeiffer ran the gauntlet this morning, appeared on 5 of the Sunday morning shows defending the president. Lanny Davis knows a thing or two about defending a president under fire. He is, of course, former special counsel to President Bill Clinton. He is also the author of a new book. It's called Crisis Tales. Lanny, it's good to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Let's start the obvious spot here. What advice would you have for President Obama and his staff at this particular juncture?
Well, Dan Pfeiffer had it right on the shows that I watched this morning, and let me at least challenge Congressman Ryan to come up with one fact to support what he said, that there was any White House involvement in what happened at the IRS. One fact. You notice that he uses lots of adjectives. And what about the hypocritical Senator Rand Paul? When Ronald Reagan presided over the loss of several hundred Marines in the Lebanon barracks, I don't recall him referring back to the Secretary of State then, who should have resigned, and the hypocrisy that he doesn't mention that there were attacks on embassies under President Bush when he ran for Senate in Kentucky, never asked for the Secretary of State under President Bush to resign. This is pure hypocrisy, exploiting the tragic deaths of Americans by Rand Paul, who I used to admire for intellectual honesty. I no longer do.
Lanny, is there anything that you would have advised the White House to do differently in the past week? What would you have advised them to do?
For sure. The fact that Republicans have been contradicted, apologize for suggesting that Susan Rice and the White House put out their own version of the facts for political reasons, using the word spontaneous and inspired by Cairo protests, in describing the terrible attacks in Benghazi, have been contradicted by the actual talking points written by, indisputably, the CIA and all the emails that we just read. My question for Mr. Pfeiffer for some time has been, why didn't the White House publish those talking points way back when Susan Rice was left drifting in the wind, Senator Iotti and several other irresponsible members of Congress, including this particular congressman who ran for vice president, Paul Ryan, falsely suggested that the word spontaneous was made up by the White House, when we now know from the talking points that they were written by the CIA. But the White House should have put those talking points out 6 months ago rather than waiting until just recently.
You wrote in The Hill last week that if the White House counsel knew about the IRS abuses and did not tell the president, she should have resigned. The president claims that he found out about many of these scandals from the news. At what point, as something is developing, should staffers bring the president into the loop?
Well, if you're the White House counsel, immediately. So I said if, and I have the greatest respect for the White House counsel and her legal credentials, but if she knows about an investigation about something with the media and political nuclear capabilities of an IRS activity, even if it had nothing to do with the White House, even if the investigation was incomplete, of course, as White House counsel, she should give the president heads up. I don't know whether she did or not. I said if. But so far, the president and Jay Carney have denied that they knew anything about this, and I'm wondering if she doesn't give him a heads up, then she doesn't realize the job of White House counsel is more than about legal final conclusions, but you need to give the president and the press department a warning to be prepared for a crisis that's about to come.
Lanny, I want to ask you about something else here before I let you go. This assertion that Senator Mitch McConnell made on Meet the Press this morning, that this is the IRS scandal, at least, is emblematic of a larger problem with this White House, that President Obama and his White House are essentially bullies, that there's this culture of intimidation that exists at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. What say you to that?
Fact-free. Rhetoric is easy. Characterizations and adjectives and partisan words are easy. Did Senator McConnell mention one fact that is true to support the conclusion of intimidation by the White House? Again, he speculates about the IRS. We have an IG that said there's no evidence of anybody outside the IRS other than these rogue IRS employees, who, by the way, I take very seriously the misconduct of those employees. But when you have Senator McConnell speculating, using innuendo, that is not the same as fact. That's pretty sad, since he's the Senate minority leader, and in running for re-election, he should be focused on facts, not innuendo.
Lanny Davis, advisor to former President Bill Clinton, also the author of Crisis Tales. Lanny, thank you for your time on this Sunday afternoon. I do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.